2018.
This is Nerd Bourbon, episode 40. I am disbarred lawyer Jack Thompson.
I hate you so much. And I am Todd Sturgill.
How come that's always your reaction to anything I say, is that you hate me?
Because I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Why can't I do anything right in your eyes?
Because you're a disappointment. No, I'm just...
Hey, Todd, look at me. Think back and talk to me. Just sing the whole fucking song.
You know,
how you doing?
Pretty good. And are you proud of me? I didn't do the thing.
You didn't do the thing this week. I think the only reason you didn't is because I called you out on it last week.
I know you hurt my feelings a little bit, and also I kind of just want to like get through this recording right now and just crawl back into bed.
It's like I told you, like I'm so fucking dead from work last night. I was like, we're gonna jump on, we're gonna record this trash show, and then I'm gonna crawl my beaten husk back into its sarcophagus.
That's like I could have really easily slept like the rest of the day.
I plan to.
Like, oh, that's exactly where I'm at. I'm knocking the fuck out after this.
Yeah. What have you been up to this week?
Dying from work, Monster Hunter, and some other shit.
Well, what other shit? We need specifics.
I played the Kirby demo because you told me to.
Oh yeah, that's a good. See, here's the thing. So, I'm a big Kirby fan. I'm a big Nintendo fan.
Yeah.
And Kirby Star Allies. I'm really looking forward to it and stuff like that. The new Kirby game coming out for Switch. And I kind of mentioned it offhandedly too, because we were talking about like what we're going to talk about on the show and stuff. And I was like, well, talking about the new Kirby demo a little bit. And I was like, you should check it out. And you're like, I don't really like Kirby. I think the last one I played was Canvas Curse on DS. And I was like, oh, wow. Of all the Kirby, I was like, if you're going to judge like a Kirby game by, if you're going to judge it by any of the games in the series, Canvas Curse is the worst one to judge it by.
Yeah.
Not because it's a bad game, but it's just so weird.
Like I think I was like, I said it like after I beat the demo. I was like, yeah. Because it's just like it's kind of was like even you said it was like it's like a gimmick. It was like doing the whole gimmick for like the stylus bullshit.
Yeah, I mean it was just a showcase for the DS in general. Like Canvas Curse is a good game, but like and Rainbow Curse on Wii U is a better game that people give it credit for. But it is a very, I mean, like you said, it's a gimmick. It's just it's just to make use of the stylus. And honestly, they are kind of on the lower end of my favorite Kirby games because like I don't know, they just. To me, that is not the way I want to control Kirby. I like the traditional kind of style, like, like this one. So, you aren't really very familiar with Kirby. How did you feel jumping into this demo?
I kind of fell in love with it, like, in, like, the first, 10 seconds.
What about it? Like, what jumped out at you immediately?
So I'm an idiot, and I love the whole new thing where, like, you can just making friends type shit. That shit is entertaining to me.
It's so fucking cute.
Oh, it's exactly like I was just like enjoying the names of like the enemies. It's like what Sir Kerbal or some shit. I was like, hello,
Sir
friend.
Kibble. Yeah.
Sir Kibble, there it is. I was like, Sir Kibble, you will stay with me this entire time. And he did. He's the only one that I like legit kept in the rotation of my friends.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of dumb like. Poppy Bros Jr., Waddle Dee, and shit like that. Kirby always has some good names, but no, like what about it? I mean, coming in from fucking Canvas Curse of all things being your last Kirby experience, this must have been a little bit of a culture shock for you.
Yeah, it kind of was. Like it was just like, and the amount of fun I was having just fucking around with it. Funny thing is, I ended up doing like the hard level first without realizing.
Yeah, the demo is split into 2 levels, and I think it's like basically the first and like second or third level, basically.
I can see that.
But it categorizes it as a hard level and an easy level, and yeah, I was like expecting you to be like, oh yeah, I'm fighting Wispy Woods, but you're like, oh no, I'm fighting King Dedede. I was like, oh, okay, you started with that one, all right. Yeah, how did you feel, though, about the, like, I guess, structure of it? Because, basically, it's almost like you've seen the light. It's like I played, you're playing Canvas Curse, and then coming into this, it's just like an entirely different, even style of game.
Yeah,
You know?
it's more of like a regular thing. It's more of like a normal like 2D side scroller that I'm like used to, and I feel that more than the stupid bullshit with Canvas Curse.
I almost wish that like Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot weren't stuck on 3DS, because I think Planet Robobot in particular, I think you would really, really like that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like now that I know that you are into this, like that you're actually into the typical like Kirby style, because this is a traditional Kirby game. They all have kind of like gimmicks, gameplay gimmicks and stuff like that, but it's nice to know that you like the traditional Kirby, side-scrolling platformer style. And with that, I'm like, man, I really wish you could play. I mean, you could play Robobot, but you're not gonna like dust off the 3DS.
Fuck no, I'm not.
I mean, like, yeah, exactly. But like, it's such a good game, and like, I mean, I'll just say this: it's mech suits, man.
Ooh.
Like, it's so good. Like the whole thing with Planet Robobot is Kirby has a mech suit, and when he's in the mech suit, rather than like sucking up enemies, he scans them and turns into different mech suits. Oh, it's so good. It's like a really good game.
That just aroused me.
So like imagine like you see one of those like rock dudes and you scan it, and all of a sudden his mech has these like boulder fists.
Oh, it's so good. Legit.
Yeah, it's such a great game. Like Planet Robobot is one of my favorite Kirby games. Again, I wish that's one of those things where like I wish it was possible to like port that to Switch or something so that you could feasibly play it. Is this something you could see yourself? I mean, I know you were like, I don't know if I'd buy it, but could you see yourself playing it one day?
As I was like after I jumped off with you, I was kind of thinking to myself, I might end up actually buying it.
Really?
Yeah.
You liked it that much? Okay.
Because like I think I just want to like just have like some stupid ass game to play.
And that might be a good thing to like tide you over until Far Cry, because really, I have several games coming out this month that I'm looking forward to, but I think A Way Out and Far Cry are the next games you're getting, right?
Yep, that's where I'm at right now, because it's just Monster Hunter all day, Monster Hunter all night.
Because Kirby might be a really good holdover for you then. Like, yeah, that's something that you could probably beat, and get a good amount of time out of until the end of the month when A Way Out and Far Cry come out.
So it's either I buy that or buy it later on, because I do have Mario Odyssey to fuck with.
Yeah, but I really wish you'd play that game. That game's so good.
Yeah, I do need to actually sit there and start that up.
I have, it's funny because now I really want to start working through, like, Life is Strange just finally wrapped up, and I really want to start working through that. Telltale Batman, at this point, I think I'm just going to wait for it to be done, because I think there's only one episode left of season 2. So I think I'm just going to wait for that to come out at this point. But, I'm at that, and I've said this, I think, before on the podcast, I'm at that point with Monster Hunter where I'm just like, I just kind of want to beat it and put it back on the shelf and be done with it for a while.
Yeah, and right now we're just waiting on a good time for it's like going to be you and a mutual friend of ours to actually jump on, because he needs to beat the game his damn self. Yeah,
we were just kind of like, might as well kill two birds with one stone, So I just want to kind of do that and get Monster Hunter out of the way, and it's a great game, but I am definitely looking forward to like putting it aside. We're probably gonna stream that whole session when we do that.
Yeah.
We actually have had. This is a good little segue to talk about kind of our new Twitch streaming setup, because we've had some issues with that.
I don't want to talk about
it. Well, you're the one that is the most hurt about it, I think.
Yeah. Because I bought. So if you've listened to the last couple episodes, you realize I've bought a Elgato capture card. Now, I realize this. As I do feel like I could legit get it to work properly with OBS, but I just need to like really fuck with the settings. And the deal with that is I'm lazy, and it's like I feel like it would just take too much time. But like Seth and I, we're problem solvers, so we it's in that
sturgill blood.
Sturgill blood.
Problem solvers.
Mm-hmm. We'll work ourselves to the grave, and we're problem solvers.
Some real shit.
So, like, what we ended up doing is we are going to be using the PS4 capture again. But we're going to be having the most garbage setup with our mics.
Yes.
But the sound quality will be good. So we actually are, like, you actually bought a new Blue Yeti, right?
Yeah, I bought a second Blue Yeti, which I wanted to do anyway, because I wanted to have one for, like interview style, like so that next time I do a recording with somebody in person, it doesn't have to be like how Anastasia and I did it, which didn't sound bad, but like,
it wasn't the Nerd Bourbon quality.
it wasn't up to my quality standards. And Blue Yetis, they're expensive, yes, but they're not like that expensive for the quality you get.
You're not getting like those like A1 ass mics.
Right, like I'm not getting one of those, fucking multi-$100, Rode professional quality. But Blue Yeti is a really good, like, kind of middleman mic where you get good sounding audio quality, like you're hearing right now. But it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. They go for like $130. The one that I bought was actually on sale, and I had a gift card that I got for a promotion that we won, a contest that we won at work. So I ended up only paying like $60 for it. So nice. It really wasn't bad. And, I wanted another mic anyway, and we found out that you can indeed use the Blue Yeti on PS4, and although the PS4's audio codec is still not great, you are able to get notably better audio quality from your Blue Yeti connected to PS4.
So the way we were doing some test streams, the way it like works out is like the person that's actually streaming sounds fucking good, like sounds actually really fucking good, but the person that's in the party, the PSN party, sounds a little off because again like the audio codec, but it is still better, and
it's still not bad. Yeah.
So what we're doing is like I look like a fucking idiot when we're doing this shit. I just wires just hanging on me like a fucking idiot. I have it plugged into my PS4. Then I have the headset that I use while I'm recording actually plugged into the Blue Yeti, just draped on me. Just it's like so stupid.
Oh, I have a table. You're familiar with this table. This is the table that I have set up by my couch that we play D&D on.
Okay.
I have my table. I have the Blue Yeti sitting on top of the table on the stand, and kind of right in front of my face, and then I have to have my computer, my laptop, right next to it, basically as a glorified power source. Because here's the thing, we found out that I have to have my Turtle Beach plugged into the Blue Yeti before I can hear you on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I have to have my Turtle Beach plugged into the computer via USB. That's how it's powered, and then plug it from there into the Blue Yeti. So yeah, I look like I'm on life support or some shit. With wires just hanging off of me like I'm on Twitch life support. And it's pretty bad. But we got it figured out. We have, again, we're problem solvers. We've got a pretty good solution essentially with the good, stable video quality that PlayStation streaming provides, and good audio quality. It's not going to be as good as it was, when we were doing off of Elgato, but it's still going to be like pretty solid. I think pretty comparable. I think it's going to be a pretty good solution until I think you're talking about getting a better computer to kind of handle the streaming side of things better in the future.
Yeah, because my computer's like fucking 5 years old at this point.
Which might as well be a fossil,
Yep.
In the PC gaming world.
I was actually curious what my fucking video card was. I looked at like my video card just so shit compared to like what's out nowadays.
That's the thing, that this is why I've never been a big PC gamer. This is exactly why. It's
a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it really is. But long story short, we've got it more or less figured out to a point that we are both happy with, where we get a little bit of both worlds. So yeah, Twitch streaming. I know next week for sure. I think you're talking about doing some more Dragon's Dogma soon.
Yes.
I know next week for sure. When Burnout comes out, I'm definitely gonna be playing some Burnout. Probably in either in a solo stream or like a kind of chill hangouty kind of stream. And I was actually one of the test streams we were doing was with Skyrim, and I was like, I could kind of see myself streaming some Skyrim, you know?
I could see myself fucking doing some Skyrim because I'm kind of in the mood to download that my damn self because I own it, but like I actually really didn't like play it for some reason.
Yeah, it's just such a good like stupid like. Even if it's just a chill stream of like, you know, late night, you and I are both off work, we're both playing Skyrim like separately, and just like hanging out and talking and streaming Skyrim, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a really good chill game. I want to talk about for a split second. We do have some plans for potentially doing some episodes of Shots in the very near future. So, I normally, so I'm a big fan of watching movies. This is why Shots exists. I like movies a lot. I wouldn't call myself a movie buff,
So
you know, but
are we just finally announcing that Shots is just a movie review show? At this point?
I think we've basically said that Shots is a movie and TV review show at this point.
But a part of me is like, you know, it kind of is because if anything, we could talk about like one-shot games just on the main show.
Well, that's sort of what we do anyway, right? I think that's what made us come to that decision is like, well, I kind of just talk about, like, I have a game this week that I want to highlight briefly, and that would be worthy of a Shots. Like, the idea of Shots is still solid, but the thing about it is, we can't talk about Black Panther for 30 fucking minutes in the main show, you know?
No.
We can't go on about Star Wars for an hour, you know, when we did that Last Jedi Shots, and we literally talked about Last Jedi for an hour.
Damn,
we can't
was it that long?
It was like 52 minutes, I think.
Shit.
Yeah. We can't just work that into the main show seamlessly.
No, hell no.
So
Then the main show would be long as
it ended up being like a fucking 2-hour podcast. So nobody wants to listen to us talk for that long.
No, I don't even like listening to you for that long.
Shit. You're telling me. It's torture. When Anastasia's trying to catch up on the podcast, she's been trying to work through all the episodes she's behind on.
How far
I have to
behind is she,
listen to
actually?
my own voice. Oh, she's far behind, dude. She's catching up pretty. I think the last one she listened to was like episode like 27 or something like that.
Damn.
So, and I mean, we're on 40 now. So, I mean, and before that, and that's after she's put in a lot of like listening hours, because before that she was on like episode like 16 or something like that.
Fucking hell.
She was so far behind, but she's starting to work her way through again, which, I mean, is good because she does legitimately enjoy the podcast. She likes to listen to it, but it sucks for me because I have to listen. I mean, think about the amount of times I have to hear my own voice when I'm editing this shit, and then having to listen to it again months after the fact, you know?
It is a form of torture at that point.
It is like fucking Chinese water torture. It sucks. And you know, and it's funny too because like I hear us talking about things. It's such a weird like time capsule, you know, like of the things that we were into at that time. Like, even though we haven't been doing the podcast for that long, it's gonna be really weird when this podcast is like several years old or something.
Ooh, that's some real shit.
And you go back and listen to stuff. Like it was weird to hear me talk about like Orlando and stuff like that. I'm like, shit, that feels so long ago, you know? But so, getting back on track, I really like watching movies. Oscar season, you know, Oscars just happened, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into that, but the point is, I have been dying to watch some of these movies that I missed out on, you know, last year, like movies like Disaster Artist and Baby Driver and Three Billboards and Lady Bird and like just, you know, several movies that I never got to see last year. And now that Oscar season is wrapped up, PlayStation Network has them all available for rent digitally. So I went through and I just went on a fucking renting spree. And and I think you're like, as I was doing this, I was talking to you and you were just kind of like, shit, I'll jump in with you on some of these. So over the course of the next like month or so, I think you and I are just going to kind of watch a bunch of these movies together. Mm-hmm. And if we are so inclined, I mean, I'm not going to say that we're going to do a shots for every single one of them, but if it's one that we both really enjoy and we both want to do a shots on it, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't, you know? So You may get some like kind of shots for some movies that are a few months old from us. They're just movies that we watched and liked and want to talk about. But you know, you can expect to see a bunch of those. I think in the future. Because I'm gonna be watching some movies. I've been watching a shit ton of movies lately. Like, I bought Coco on Blu-ray. That was really good. I'm not gonna give a whole review or anything, but Coco's like one of the best Pixar movies, like probably the best Pixar movie since like Toy Story 3 and WALL-E. Honestly,
that's what you're telling me.
It's really
yesterday.
Good. Really, really good movie. I also watched Anastasia and I yesterday. Watched Murder on the Orient Express, and that was good. It wasn't great, but it was good.
You actually wanted to see that in theaters, right? But you just
I did. I'm a big fan of the book. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, and what's interesting is this movie. I guess slight spoilers. At the end, it sort of teases like an Agatha Christie almost movie universe. Like it seems like they're gonna do a sequel to it. They're going to do Death on the Nile, which is, Murder on the Orient Express is like probably by far her most famous book. Death on the Nile is probably her second most famous book. And so that's the one that they're doing next, it seems like, with Kenneth Branagh still directing and starring and stuff like that. It was good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like amazing or anything like that. It, isn't going to win any awards, but it was really cool to see the events of the book. It is a little bit weird when you're watching a murder mystery and you know how it unfolds, like they it's not as if they were going to vastly shake some shit up. It unfolds the way it unfolds in the book, but it was cool to see those events happen on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
It was, I don't know, it was neat. Like it's worth the watch. And I think it would be really enjoyable for somebody who doesn't know what happens,
See, I don't think I actually have ever read the book, so it might be something I might be down to watch for myself.
If you ever want to watch it, I'm happy to watch it again with you, because I enjoyed it. Like, it was good. I really liked the set, like the actual set of the train was beautiful, and the performances were all good. It has a great cast. The cast is amazing. Like, even when they're just kind of like small roles. Like, the actual actors, you're talking about, it's got Willem Dafoe, Josh Gad, Dame Judi Dench, Daisy Ridley, Kenneth Branagh is the star. It's just got a shit ton of, like, great actors. It's really, really good in terms of that. Like, that, everything around it is really good. Some of the writing is really good. But yeah, again, not going to win any awards or anything like that, but a really solid watch, and I'm excited to see what they do next. It's nice to see an Agatha Christie book, like, kind of given its due diligence. Like, it's nice to see it treated with respect. So, I've just been watching a shit ton of movies lately. I've been really getting into that. I've been getting into catching up on the movies I've missed. I played a little phone game that I want to shout out real quick. I don't play a lot of games on my phone. I don't know about you, but my phone to me is really more of a music device than anything.
That is legit like 95% of what my phone is to me.
My phone consists of texting, taking work calls, listening to music, listening to podcasts, and taking pictures. That is all my phone does, basically. I don't do anything else. There's one game that I've consistently kept. This game called Threes. It's a little really dead simple math puzzle game that I have always kept on my phone, and I just kind of, waiting in line or something like that, kind of play a little round of threes or something. But other than that, I don't play games on my phone. So this game, it's called Florence. It's this game that's been kind of making the rounds. And it's really, really good. It's a. I mean, this may shock you, but it's an indie game. I mean, I know it may shock you to hear that I played an indie game, but it's a it's an iPhone game that was made by. Have you ever heard of Monument Valley?
No, I have not.
Very popular mobile game, Monument Valley, and the creator made Florence. And the best way I can describe it, it's a love story. about this girl named Florence, and it's maybe 45 minutes long. It's not long at all, but the way that it handles like certain aspects of it. So like, you are in this relationship and you go on this first date with a guy, right? And I don't want to spoil too much, but the way that they handle like through gameplay describing what it feels like to make it easier to talk to somebody. So like you have these puzzle pieces and at first it's really complicated and you have to like fit these puzzle pieces into a word balloon to kind of symbolize what it's like to talk to somebody, and at first it's really hard, and then as the date progresses there are less and less puzzle pieces, so it becomes easier to talk to this person symbolically. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's smart. Like it's really smart the way, and there's several things like that. And it's really good, and the music's really good, and the art is really good, and it's just a really solid, like, I think the game costs like $4 or $5 or something like that, and it's just a really solid like hour that you can spend on your phone. So yeah, that game's called Florence. I highly recommend it. Before we get into our proper, I guess, topic for the week, I wanted to talk briefly about the game that you and I both have an unending love for but never play, Overwatch. I want to talk about the new Overwatch character, Brigitte. You've played with Brigitte, right?
Yeah, I jumped. It's the only reason I own this thing on PC, so I could jump on the PTR and try these new characters out. I don't ever go into like an actual game. I just go into the training grounds. Yeah. But she's everything that I've ever wanted in a Overwatch character.
I mean, like, it's, she's a support. So just to describe, she is Torbjorn's daughter, right? And she is a support character, right? Mm-hmm. She has a flail and a shield. Does she do... Now, this is something I was interested in. Did she do healing over time based on damage that she's dealing? Isn't that what she does?
No, I think it's just like a standard, like, Lucio sort of thing.
Okay.
Just like a healing over time passive. And then she does have, like, the target heal that, like, if you're at full health, gives you armor.
Right. I was aware of that. I thought that the way it worked, though, was that as she was dealing damage, she got, like, little bursts of healing or something like that.
I don't know exactly, but I think I read it was just, like, passive. Just passive, like, passive, like, heal.
I think it may be a mix of the two. I think she may have a passive heal, and then as she does enough damage, boom, there's a little burst of additional healing or something. Mm. But she seems really interesting, and I know you've been looking forward to a sort of paladin-esque character for a while.
It's all I've wanted. I was just like, give me like a support tank sort of thing, and that's what I got here.
She seems, I mean, like, people are already finding, that's the reason they put her on PTR, people are already finding, like, the dirty combos and the stupid shit you can do with her, and by the time, I'm sure a lot of that's going to get ironed out by the time she comes to console, but she seems like she's going to be a great character, honestly.
Yeah. I think when we were talking about her earlier, we were like the dirty combos, is like, dude, her attacks just flow out like so seamlessly. Like, you'll be sitting there, you can hold down the thing, right? Just hold down the fucking, like, mouse button or, like, the attack button, and you're just sitting there swinging the flail. And the thing is, that thing has, like, a deceptive range. You don't think it's going to go as far as it does.
It goes pretty far. Yeah, it goes pretty far.
And then you can just, as you're attacking, just hit the other button. Boom. Hit the whip, basically. And that thing goes further. And it's just, boom, somebody's basically dead at that point.
Yeah, they did a low health, like a Tracer, or a Zenyatta. There's a really quick, like, 3-button combo that basically just wrecks them. Like, literally, it's just shield bash and then the 2 different attacks, and they're just fucking dead.
The shield bash stuns. So,
yeah, that's like, exactly. So, like, you open with the shield bash, on a Tracer, for example. The Tracer's stunned, and then you just quickly do the 2 attacks, boom, boom, and she's dead. So she's gonna be pretty filthy. It's always annoying, like, whenever a new character first comes out and you can't really get a good hang on her because everybody's playing as her. It takes a little while.
Here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is it's a support character.
That's true.
Nobody
likes playing support. But it doesn't matter. Like even it really, even though she's a support character, it doesn't matter. People are gonna be playing as her too much. Gonna be the first person selected. But I don't know. And I think I was telling you this when she was first announced. I am a little annoyed that it seems like all we're really getting is like support characters and like offensive characters.
Yeah.
It's basically just been attack characters, support characters, and Orisa. That's basically it. You know? I was
like,
really...
Yeah, really think about it. How many attack characters have we gotten? It's Doomfist, Sombra.
Doomfist and Sombra. Then Orisa. And then we got, Brigitte now. We got Ana.
Moira.
And Moira. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally... I'm not exaggerating. It's all support characters, attack characters, and Orisa. No defensive characters. And, I think the reason why, and this is something I expressed to you too, I think it's really, really fucking hard to design defensive characters. Like, I think that defensive characters have to wear a lot of hats in a lot of ways. Yeah. They have to be bulky, but not like so bulky that they're a tank, They have to do a lot of damage to hold off in a defensive line, so they're just really hard. They're like really hard to balance. But I want a good defensive character.
You also kind of have to balance them because, like, most of the defensive characters you can actually just play on offense half the time.
Right. So they need to wear multiple hats. It's got to be defensive characters that fall into the defense bracket have got to be the hardest ones to design. And I almost wish that they would have something similar to I think the easiest route to go about it would be somebody. And I don't know how they would do this. I'm not a Blizzard designer. But somebody that kind of plays into that Torbjorn style of gameplay where kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, not that you can set and forget your turret, but I'm just saying, like, something where you can run around and do some damage as Torb. But Torb is almost like he almost isn't in that Bumblebee style where, like, he doesn't take a lot of, his health is pretty low. But he has the defensive capabilities of this turret. He has the armor. He's got a good little range with his gun. He's got good speed. I think it should be somebody kind of like that. I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it, is somebody who has defensive abilities rather than a defensive play style, if that makes sense. I think that's probably the easiest way to design a new defensive character for Overwatch. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it, I guess. I just want to see more, I guess, variety with the gameplay styles of these new heroes. So,
yeah, I feel that.
I am looking forward to her though. She's gonna be fun, and then her skins are really good, so it's gonna be a good time.
That's the main thing we care about. We're skin fiends.
That's really it. We never play Overwatch really. I mean, it's rare that we play Overwatch, but
Lord
I'll be
knows we
damned.
jump on and spend some money on some skins.
I'll be damned when a new fucking like holiday event rolls around. A new character rolls around. We'll be the first motherfuckers drop $50.
Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
Anyway, let's get into the meat here. So the Nerd Bourbon is not a political show, Todd, and it never will be. But I do want to talk about, in light of recent events, there was the, in all honesty, the fucking, like, horrific school shooting in Florida. And, that happened, and, the public discourse always sort of flares up around gun control and stuff like that. But recently, an old debate that I think the gaming culture has sort of just assumed was dead kind of flared back up. This time it came from the top. It came from, President Donald Trump, which is a weird sentence that I'm still not used to saying. It came from the president kind of wondering aloud if violent video games had anything to do with this shooting. And it's kind of like, it's weird. Like, all of a sudden I feel like I'm in, 2007 again. I'm like, what? We're still talking about this shit? Like, I thought this was dead, And I want to read before I dive into this, because I'm sure that we both have thoughts on this. There's a brief article from Jason Schreier, who we have long praised on this show and read his book and everything. Jason Schreier over at Kotaku has a headlining article on Kotaku today called "Trump versus Video Games: What to Expect from Tomorrow's White House Meeting." So I'm just going to read through this quick thing. It's just a handful of paragraphs here, kind of chronicling this whole thing, just to get everybody up to speed, listeners who may not know what's going on. So, on Thursday, March 8th, that is the day after, the day before this show posts, but it's tomorrow for us as we're recording. The White House will hold a meeting with members of the video game industry to talk about gun violence. Few people know who will be at that meeting or why it is taking place, but one thing is clear. Like all things involved with the Donald Trump administration, this process has been a mess. Since well before he was elected President of the United States, Trump has had a vendetta against violent video games, writing on Twitter in 2012, "Video game violence and glorification must be stopped. It is creating monsters." Now, in the wake of the February shooting in Parkland, Florida that left 17 people dead, Trump is reigniting that old fire. In comments shortly after the shooting, he suggested that violent media led to violence, and now, with this meeting, he's taking more tangible action. The meeting has been a debacle from the start. Reports for the past year have pegged the Trump White House as sloppy, unprepared, and disorganized, and by all indications, this planned meeting has followed that same pattern. The chaos started last Thursday when the White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders told reporters that Trump planned to meet with members of the video game industry to see what they can do on that front. This was news to the video game industry, whose representatives told Kotaku on Thursday night that they had not been invited. On Friday, Sanders said invitations were going out the following week. Then on Monday, a spokesperson for the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, the video game lobbyist group, said that it had received an invitation and would be attending. As part of a statement, the ESA added, "Video games are plainly not the issue. Entertainment is distributed and consumed globally, but the U.S. has an exponentially higher level of gun violence than any other nation." The ESA serves a number of functions, including putting on the E3 trade show, representing big publishers' business interests, and defending video games. It did the last in 2011 when its lawyers successfully argued to the Supreme Court that a California law criminalizing the sale of violent video games to minors, something not on the books for violent movies, music, or other entertainment, violated the First Amendment. So in other words, the Supreme Court ruled that video games are protected under free speech, and it's horseshit. That's not in the article, I just inserted that. Since Monday, we've heard from people involved with the process that the White House meeting has remained unorganized and that solid information has been hard to come by. 2 people involved have described it as wildly frustrating. Nobody knows whether the meeting will be televised, although it appears to be closed to press. Now, this is interesting. This is something that I didn't know until I read this article. This is funny to me. What a funny tidbit this is. Are you ready for this?
Yes, go for it.
Trump's reclusive brother, Robert Trump, serves on the board of directors for ZeniMax, the company behind game publisher Bethesda and all of its subsidiaries. Oh my, how the tables have turned. Isn't that funny?
I actually did not know that.
His fucking brother is on the board of directors for ZeniMax. That's so funny to me. Bethesda makes many excellent games, some of which, like the 2016 reinterpretation of Doom, are both gory and rated M for players aged 17 and older. In a manner of speaking, violent video games are in fact part of the Trump's extended family business. We've heard Robert Trump plans to attend, although based on how this process has gone down so far, it's impossible to say that anything is a certainty. A White House spokesperson told Kotaku this week that it will provide more details on the meeting Wednesday night in its regularly daily guidance report. The White House also plans to release a full list of attendees today, which will add to this article when we see it. That, at the point that I'm reading this, has still not been added. When asked by Kotaku if they will be attending this meeting, representatives for EA and Activision referred us to the ESA. Microsoft declined to comment, and reps from Sony, Ubisoft, Take-Two, and Nintendo did not respond. One person, this is somebody that I referenced at the beginning of the show, one person who's angling for an invite is Jack Thompson, the attention-hungry, disbarred lawyer who has waged a crusade against video games since the 1990s. In an unsolicited email to me last week, Thompson wrote, "So, Jason, is Trump going to meet with the Mexican drug cartel lords to ask them what they do about the opioid crisis? I need to be in on that meeting, and I'm working on it. Trust me, Jack Thompson." Yes, that Jack Thompson. What the fuck? This man has risen from the ashes? Jack Thompson is still a thing?
He's been waiting for his moment to strike.
He really has. What the fuck?
Waiting.
One thing's for certain, Trump isn't gathering video game executives to talk about what might be coming in Thursday's Nintendo Direct. They'll be talking about violence in video games. Researchers have spent decades studying the links between violent video games and real violence and have failed to come up with any correlation. This is something that I'll talk about. There are conversations worth having here. One about how video games affect our brains. Who among us hasn't rage quit or gotten a bit too angry in a heated competitive match of StarCraft or Counter-Strike? There's room to talk about the links between video game companies and gun manufacturers, or the psychological tricks that video games use to keep people hooked on loot boxes. But this meeting will not feature those conversations. It will be about the least nuanced and most easily disproved issue of them all. Like when former Vice President Joe Biden met with video game executives after the Sandy Hook shooting, this meeting will likely lead to no legislation or policy changes, but will certainly make for good theater. So that's what Jason says over at Kotaku. Now, here's what I like about Jason Schreier. He certainly has his, like, political agenda sort of, like, I guess, peppered in here a little bit. But
yeah,
what I like is that he doesn't play... He plays both sides of the field. He's not saying... He's acknowledging the fact that, like, former Vice President Joe Biden kind of took a similar stance where he met with video game executives following a shooting. So, with all that preamble out of the way, what is your raw take on this? Do violent video games make a violent person?
I don't think so. No. I think I feel like if you're a violent person, that's what makes you a violent person.
Exactly. Here's my thing. And again, I'm not going to get into a gun control debate. That's not what I'm talking about here. I don't want to get political in terms of that. But, our society is so fucking obsessed with blaming everything but the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Dude, that is like the main issue of this entire situation, because it's just they want to do the scapegoat bullshit and like, oh, that's why, that's right. What's going on. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Video games didn't make this man act like a monster and shoot up a school. Like, the gun didn't make him do it. Video games didn't make him do it. A movie he watched didn't make him do it. He did it. You know what I mean? He made that decision. He decided to be a violent, monstrous piece of shit, and it had nothing to do with the games he was playing or the media he was consuming. It's fucking preposterous. I look like I'm 9 months pregnant, but I'm not blaming the fork. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not blaming the box of fudge rounds in my pantry for my stomach. You know what I'm saying?
Preach it, brother.
So, there's no link. Science has not proven this at all. This discourse is not new at all. In the 50s and 60s, the argument was, comic books are making us violent. In the 70s, it was TV and D&D. In the 80s, it was music. In the 90s, it was, and now it's video games, It's the same old tired bullshit, and nothing has ever been proven and never will be proven because A, because there's nothing to prove, and B, because just think for 2 seconds about the math. Not only, this is something that Jason said in his article, not only are video games widely distributed throughout the entire world, not just the United States, where this shit doesn't happen, in Europe and Asia and stuff like that, where this shit doesn't happen, as often as it does in the United States. They're distributed everywhere, and you would think that if video games were the root cause of this problem would be a lot more frequent than just in our country. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the video games aren't the fucking issue, because this isn't happening in Japan. This isn't happening in the UK. You know what I mean? There's another issue there that's worth talking about. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it's not the video games. And also, think for 2 seconds about the amount of consoles. There are like 80 million PS4s, right? Think about how many copies GTA 5, maybe the most violent mass market video game. Think of how many copies that has sold. Do you really think, if video games had anything to do with making us violent people, that GTA 5 being in so many homes, being played and bought by so many people, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be the fucking Wild West out here. If video games had anything to do with it. If video games made me go to the store, buy a gun, and shoot somebody, then, like, fucking, how many fucking billions of copies of GTA 5 sold? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's fucking preposterous. I mean, like, there's, and it's crazy because I feel like this discourse has just set us back 10 years, you know?
Yep.
For no reason.
I honestly didn't like you said. I didn't like you said, like, it rose up from the ashes or some shit. I didn't expect this bullshit to come back ever. I thought this shit was dead.
Yeah, 90 million copies worldwide sold as of last month for GTA 5. What, GTA? 90 million.
Fucking hell.
90 million copies in hands.
I'm about like 1,000. 1,000 of those.
90 million copies of one game, and yeah, it has such a link. Well, then, like, fucking, even if, I mean, like, even if a small percentage of those 90 million copies were causing people to act violently, we would have more violent crime. Mm-hmm. It's absurd.
But it's not the games making these motherfuckers violent.
No.
It's the person.
It's the violent person. And, there have been studies that show that, like, a person playing a violent game may be made more aggressive as a result. But there is no such study.
There's one thing I'll say. In this internet age, and, like, there is a level of, like, becoming desensitized, I could say.
Sure.
To shit like that. But that's about it, honestly. That's the only thing I'll say. But
I still think that, like, I still think that a normal, decent human being can turn on GTA 5 and just mow down digital people with a fucking machine gun in the street, and then
go about their normal fucking day.
And then just turn it off and go walk their fucking dog, and like eat dinner and have the rest of the, it's absurd. Like, a well-adjusted normal human being is not affected by this shit. It's, the video games have not changed. There have been violent video games since the advent of video games. Like, nothing's changed. Violent media has always been a thing. It's fantasy. It's not real. I mean, it's absurd that we're having this conversation still in 2018. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And by the way, the stuff that is being shown on the news every day is probably more affecting to young minds than a video game they're playing.
Yeah, because that shit's real.
Exactly, because that shit's real. That's real life. The sort of violence and war and grotesque shit that's being shown all the time. And why do you think I don't watch the fucking news?
I haven't watched the news in, like, fucking years.
I mean, it is depressing, and there's, I mean, it's crazy, man. Like, it gets me flustered. I can't even believe that we still have the conversation, and And there's all this, and there's so many layers to it too, because now there's a whole other aspect of the conversation where people in games media have really flip-flopped on this issue, because they don't want to be in agreement with Trump. So that's a whole other fucking can of worms. So like Polygon, for example, ran an article a while ago talking about, maybe there is a link between video games and violent crime and stuff like that. And then now that Trump is saying the same thing, they're like, I can't believe we're having this debate. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. It was probably two different writers, probably.
I'm sure it was, but it's the same publication, right? So it's like,
yeah, true.
It's under the same, banner. But, and actually, no, it wasn't two different writers. There's one writer on Polygon that made a post talking about, there needs to be, if we're researching gun violence, maybe we need to take a look at video game violence too. And then now that Trump is saying the same thing, turning around and saying, "Oh no, there's no link." You know what I mean?
That just makes you look like an asshole.
It's just funny. Like it's just there are a lot of layers to this debate. It's just hilarious to see there's a lot of bullshit. In a sea of bullshit, there's a lot floating around out there. And I don't know if I have much more to say. It's just such a preposterous topic, and it seemed topical, and we don't normally get, I guess, even a fraction political on this show.
I think we try to stray away from that, just to really.
Well, it's that I've always, as a general policy, when it is in relation to talking to anybody really, I follow that Charlie Brown policy. You don't talk about politics, religion, or the Great Pumpkin. You know what I mean?
Some real shit. I feel that.
It is as true today as it is when it was said by Linus on Charlie Brown. That's a policy I've always followed. Because, nothing will get people more pissed off. And people may be pissed off when they listen to this. I don't know. Honestly, if you're out there listening to this show and you think that violent video... I would be very surprised listening to just talk about, Doom and shit. At being a fan of Nerd Bourbon and being like, but I think violent video games have there's a link.
There's no fucking link.
There's no... That's what it boils down to. There's no link. There's no intelligent discourse to be had about this. I mean, it's just fucking absurd, and I can't believe we're having this conversation in 2018. I feel like we've been set back a decade in terms of our thoughts on this. And what really sucks is that the layman, the person that is not really looking too closely at this, the person who is just turning on CNN or Fox News or whatever, and they're seeing that President Trump is meeting with video game executives, they don't understand from their perspective that gives it weight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even though you and I know it's bullshit, from the person who is not really involved in this, they see that and they say, "Oh, well, there must be something to it if President Trump's meeting with video game executives,"
which is utter bullshit.
When really it seems like it's just a fucking, slapped together little meeting where two people are invited, and and like Jason said in his post, nothing is going to change. The Supreme Court has already had a ruling on video games being protected as free speech. It's not gonna.
Yep.
It's not as if anything's gonna change, and and Donald Trump's sitting there wondering, maybe video games should have a rating system applied to them, blissfully unaware that such a rating system has been around for fucking decades.
Wait, is that a legit thing?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so, it's just, I don't even know. I feel like I'm tiptoeing. I feel like I'm walking that fine line of tiptoeing to the political. So I'm gonna stop it there. But, I just had to talk about that today. That was something that's been weighing
I think
heavy.
We did a good job of not going balls deep on the political aspect of this. So
I don't want to go balls deep, but I just want to say that, just to throw my hat in the ring for whatever it's worth, violent video games do not make a violent person, period.
Mm-hmm.
Have a statute of limitations, don't let your fucking 2-year-old play GTA. But like, you know,
That's why the rating systems exist.
that's why the rating system exists. I can't tell you. I worked at GameStop for 6 years. I can't tell you how many times, you know, and if you're worried about your kid consuming violent media, just like give a fuck for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't tell you, it was a requirement, and I'm sure it still is. Whenever a parent is buying an M-rated game for a kid, you have to read off everything that it's rated for by the ESRB.
Yeah.
I would literally be sitting there, you know, reading from a copy of GTA 5 or something like that, the laundry list, like the text, you have to squint to see the small text. There's so much shit on there. Which just like, yeah, just so you know, ma'am, this kid, the fucking game you're buying for your kid is rated M for nudity and blood and gore and swearing and all this shit, you know, everything under the sun.
Like, all right.
Just, yeah, okay.
Type shit.
Oh, he sees worse things on TV. Fuck it, you know. So like, it's absurd. There are measures in play. It's not like it's not like these games are getting into the wrong hands. You know, the games aren't doing anything wrong. We as people are doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's my overall point. Anyway, you got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I think we covered it, basically.
All right. You guys have been listening to Nerd Bourbon. Sorry if this was a weirdly political episode. We try to avoid that, but I felt like in light of the events in Florida, this is something that's been kind of weighing on me. Something that I wanted to talk about because it just seems bizarre that it's coming back into the conversation at all. So, if you, in spite of all that, had a good time listening, go ahead and throw us a follow or a sub on whatever service you're listening to us on. If there is a service we aren't currently on that you want us on, let us know so we can make it happen. If you got any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, you want to sound off on your thoughts on the debate, please leave them for us. I might read it on the show. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdbourbon, and we are at nerdbourbon on Twitter and Twitch. Beyond that, the best and only way for us to grow is if you tell your friends about us. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.